just to introduce us, my name's Christina. This is Kristen, and then my colleague Gabby. We all work with Tim in the Bureau of NGIPD, Stormwater Permitting, and Water Quality Management. And today we're going to do kind of a brief overview of how you can get involved with observing some outfalls. Okay, so briefly, we talked about this earlier. It's not, the most exciting thing, but to give a little background, we have the MS Municipal Stormwater Regulation Program was developed in 1999. From that, we had the four general permit categories. We have the Tier A, the newest one came out January 1st of this year. The Tier B was all reassigned to Tier A's. We have our public complex and then the highway agency permit. So why do we need your help? So currently towns are required to submit an illicit discharge form with their annual report. Currently we've had none or very few notifications from towns about any stream scouring. We've had, pretty poor compliance. And our thought, as well as many other groups, are there really no illicit discharges or any stream scouring cases across New Jersey in the 20-ish years that the program's been implemented. So we are looking to record observations of stream scouring and illicit discharges at outfalls during any type of fieldwork inspections that, if you're with a municipality or a volunteer group that you're performing. These observations will be forwarded to the towns to correct these issues, and then we'll discuss a little bit with Kristen how this data will be used.
Okay, cool. So now, as Tim talked about before, mapping is really going to be aiding the stream scouring and the illicit discharge, aspects of the permit. So the first thing that you're going to investigate at each outfall is stream scouring. So what is stream scouring? It's the erosion or removal of stream bed or bank material by the physical action of flowing water and sediment that it carries. So these are just a few examples of different outfalls here. The one on the right, you can really see the cutting away of the sediment right on the edge of the outfall there. And that's kind of what we're looking at when we're talking about stream scouring. The next thing you'll look at is bank stabilization, which is sort of similar, but it's a little bit different from stream scouring as it's concerned with the entire bank of the water body, not just the direct area surrounding the outfall. So on the form that you'll be filling out, there's going to be 3 different options: good, fair, and needs stabilization. So these are going to be, very sort of user use your best judgment when you're trying to fill this out. So this example here might be an example of good bank stabilization. You can see all the riprap on the edge there, all the rocks helping to stabilize that soil around the outfall. This one here is going to be maybe fair. You can kind of see the stream bed is exposed here. And then this one here is going to be an example of a stream where we really need some bank stabilization. You can see all of the cutting away of the edge here. And again, use your best judgment. We're giving you 3 options. Just use your best judgment. And also, it's really helpful if you take photos. It'll help us get a better idea of what we're looking at since we're not going to be out in the field with you. Next is we're going to ask for any instances of illicit discharges. So again, Tim kind of went through this before, but it's basically anything that's not stormwater that's coming out of stormwater pipes. So typically you'll see things like domestic sewage, processed water, wastewater, and any other non-stormwater discharges like Tim mentioned before. You might see like laundromats connecting to MS4 systems. The biggest indicator of an illicit discharge is going to be what we're calling a dry weather flow. And so that's a flow that's occurring from an outfall 72 hours after a rain event. So if there hasn't been a rain event in three days, there shouldn't be any water coming out of the stormwater pipes. So if there is, that's going to be evidence of an illicit discharge. Here are some pictures of illicit discharges. So the one on the left here, you can kind of see the water's really sort of murky and shiny. And then on the right, you can see that the red color. So typically, again, you'll see the dry weather flow, but another good indicator of an illicit discharge is going to be an extreme odor or some sort of vibrant color. So on the form, we're going to ask to identify if there's some sort of foam or oil discharging from the outfall as part of the illicit discharge investigation. And it can be tricky to determine these because sometimes you will see natural oil and foam in a stream. So how do you sort of determine when it's naturally occurring or whether it's an unnatural presence, and that's an indicator of an illicit discharge? So an unnatural foam is going to have likely a fragrant odor and be sudsy and soapy in appearance. It could also have an odor like raw sewage, and it might be bright white in color. And usually you'll see this coming directly out of the outfall pipe, excuse me. Then you'll have naturally occurring foam. So that's going to be more of an off-white color. It's going to be a little bit more caused from the churning of the water. It won't last long. It might have like an earthy odor or more of a fishy odor as opposed to that, fragrant, soapy sort of odor. It's usually most prevalent after a rainfall. And you can usually see it downstream of the outfall as opposed to right at the discharge point. And then next, you're going to have unnatural oil. So that is going to be, see here. It's going to be an iridescent appearance. So you'll see a sheen on top of the water. It'll have more of like a gas or petroleum sort of smell. And when you try to swirl it around or disturb it, it's going to stick together. And then last, you'll have naturally occurring oil, which it won't last long if it's disturbed. And when you try to disturb it, it'll break into angled portions. So here you can see evidence of an active illicit discharge. It's showing sediment coming directly out of this outfall pipe. Again, it can be a little bit tricky to determine if things are an illicit discharge. Sometimes it's not going to have that odor or it's not going to have that color. But, if this discharge is coming out of the pipe after a rainfall, or after a period of dry weather, excuse me, then it's an unwanted discharge and it could be considered illicit. So again, just use your best judgment in these situations, take videos, pictures. It'll really help us to identify what's going on. So now I'm going to turn it back over to Christina, who's going to explain the different types of outfalls that you might encounter.
So I'm gonna I know that we've had a lot of information this morning, and I want to decipher between the mapping requirements for the MS4 permit, and this is more of kind of a volunteer approach based. If you are out mapping stuff and you see an issue, this is a channel for you to give that information to the DEP so that we can, investigate it, go out and look for problems. So this is if you see something, say something kind of action. I don't know if maybe you guys want to pass out the examples of the outfalls. I'm not sure if we have one for everybody, but we'll be more than willing to share it with you at the end.
Is there anyone who definitely wants a copy to look at right now?
So what we're asking you to do is if you're out there and you see something that's, wrong, damaged, an illicit discharge, something of that nature, fill this out. There's our email inbox is on there. There's also a Survey Monkey that we're collecting this data through. We're going to go through that very shortly after I finish discussing this, but I just wanted to make that distinction so not everybody's like, oh my gosh, we have to do this as well. This is if you're out there and you see something, that's wrong, say something and provide this information to us. So we can go through the differences of between an outfall and a culvert. Outfalls, as seen on the left, are defined as any point source which discharges directly to the waters of the state. And then outfalls come in various forms. There's pipes and swales, and examples of each of these and their various forms are to follow. And then on the outfall observation form, there is the opportunity to choose other type of an outfall. And then when completing this, and if you choose other, this will trigger a comments box. So just be as descriptive as possible. Use your best judgment if you're not sure what it is. Oh, because our little thing isn't over here. Uh-oh.
Sorry, little mouse there.
That's okay. Culvert, as depicted on the right, is defined as a tunnel carrying a stream or open pipe under a roadway or a surface. Culverts indicate conveyance and movement of water, where the outfalls are the final discharge point of that stormwater. So I know we talked about that a little bit earlier. Outfalls are the final discharge point, and culverts are part of the conveyance system. And then, so for this effort, the intention of the outfall observation reporting is to only capture outfalls and not culverts. All right, so then we have types of outfalls. So we have here, as you can see on the outfall observation form, one of the first things you will do is identify the type of outfall you're inspecting, whether that be a pipe on the far left, a grass swale in the center, and then on the right, we can kind of consider that an other. You're not sure where it's coming from. You're not sure if it's a culvert under the road or if it's connected to some other part of the MS4 or a basin. That's a good question. So yeah, so she said, how do you know that the pipe is coming from the MS4? So that would be part of, whether you're going out to map as part of your permit requirements, or you're leading a group of volunteers out to look at the health of a stream. These pipes can be from other facilities, not just MS4. They can be, industrial facilities. They can be private facilities. Not that we don't care about those, because we do. So if there is some form of illicit discharge or there's damage to a pipe or things of that nature, please absolutely report that. And then we'll be able to further investigate, either contacting the permittee or the municipality, and go about it that way. So it would be, you can also do your research beforehand if you know that you're going out into a stream to do some form of stream sampling or something of that nature, and you look at GeoWeb or you look at your municipality's infrastructure map and you say, I'm expecting to find 4 outfalls along this 100-meter path, and you don't find them at all, or you find that one of them is damaged. So you can do a little bit of research before you go out there if you have something planned like that. So at the DEP, we have the 1877 Warren DEP hotline that you are encouraged to contact if it's, of grave environmental danger to the stream health. Absolutely, the municipality, I'm not sure if it would always be a stormwater type issue, but this is at the discharge point. So we're looking for any kind of illicit discharges. So you're not sure where it's coming from, but you're at the end of the pipe. Hasn't rained in a week, and there's a healthy flow of either clear water or sudsy water or odorous water, and you know that it shouldn't be flowing at that moment. So that would prompt a further investigation to say, this may just be groundwater intrusion. It's clean water, but the pipe needs maintenance somewhere along the conveyance line. And then we have, again, different types of outfalls. These ones are piped. They can be made of a variety of different material, PVC, concrete, or metal. And then here you can see these are also still piped. They just have a head wall associated with them. Some of them may be concrete, some may be a bulkhead, metal. And then you can see on the left that the stones and ripraps on the stream bank adjacent to where the runoff discharges to the stream. And then on the right, you can see a little bit of stream scouring starting to form on the left-hand side of the pipe. And we also have pipes that could be submerged, as you can see on the right, or some that are adjacent to a stream. So within, like the 10 feet buffer. And then beyond that, you could have a grass swale. Grass swale is a stable channel lined with vegetation. It's used to convey stormwater runoff to surface water. Swales are indicated to reduce suspended particles through infiltration and settling, and they're best suited to treat runoff from impervious surfaces. So sometimes these can be confused with conveyance, where a swale will link two different parts of the MS4 together. We're looking for a grass swale or ditch that leads into a surface water body. These are some pictures of damaged outfalls. Come in a variety of forms, and they may be considered damaged for a variety of reasons. Use your best judgment and always take pictures and submit it. The outfall on the left is an example of stream scouring, poor stabilization, and structural damage. And then on the right, you can see an extremely structurally damaged and needs bank stabilization. Both of these could cause flooding issues in the MS4, as well as increased pollutant loading in the local watershed. And then I'm going to give it over to Gabby, who's going to explain the form that you guys have and what you do when you come across one of these things.
So there's two ways you can submit data to us. One of them is if you prefer paper, feel free to take this form. I can also email this form to you as a fillable PDF. You can print it, bring it with you, scan it, whatever is your preferred method of collection. But we also do have a SurveyMonkey, which is this same exact form, but you can actually submit it to us directly and it goes straight to my inbox and I get to review it. If you look on the form, there's a QR code. Feel free to scan that QR code and it will bring you to the SurveyMonkey, which I'm actually going to go through, and we're going to use this lovely outfall. Don't worry, this is photoshopped. This is actually a local outfall near my house. So as you can see, the latitude and the longitude are here. So that is something we would really like you to have. It's not required. So if you want to follow along with me, feel free to scan that code or the one on your screen. So we're just going to ask for some simple information. So date and time. It's 11. Feel free to do these at night. I don't recommend it. So we do ask you to put your name so we do know who's doing it. And if you want to put your email, feel free. But put in if you don't know put the approximate longitude and latitude. If you don't know, it's okay. We can look it up on our end. It's important to know which municipality you're in. So this happened to be in Bordentown City. And then the county for this is going to be Mercer. So you can just pull down the screen and choose which one you want. And if you happen to know the receiving water body, that'd be great. I do know this is the Delaware River. Spelling is not my strong suit. And then it's going to ask you what type of outfall this one is. So anyone want to tell me what type of outfall that was? Yes, it was a pipe. And the other thing is, so if you hit a pipe, you're going to notice on the sheet that it asks you for the approximate size of the pipe. On this, if you choose swale or other, it's not going to generate the question for the size of the pipe. So for this one, it's about 12 to 18 inches. If it's bigger than that, just put that there. So would anyone say there was stream scouring present? We'll go back to it again. Yeah. So no, if you hit yes, it will bring you to another set of questions as well, but you don't have to we have it set up so you have to answer the least amount of questions for the current issues you're looking at. So would you say this is a damaged outfall? And how would you rate the bank stability? All right, so we're gonna say when I took that photo, it had not rained or snowed in the past 72 hours. Don't worry, I photoshopped it. So as obviously there is a flow, if you hit no here, it will bring you to the end of the form and thank you for filling it out. You can fill out this form as many times as you want. Please do so. I do monitor the SurveyMonkey for this. So obviously if you hit yes, it's going to bring you out to fill out things about the discharge. So we'll just say this was rancid and sour since it's green. We'll put other. You can type in the color. It's really important to take photos and you can send them to Stormwater Manager. You can send them to my email. The more photos, the helpful. And even if you're not sure if it rained or snowed in the past 72 hours and you still see a discharge, feel free to still submit this form. And it's better to go out and investigate than to not investigate. As we've said, we have not received any illicit discharge forms. So are there really no illicit discharges in Jersey? So turbidity, I would say it was cloudy. And again, if you see floatable matter, do also put that in here as well. And here you can, if you choose to do it in SurveyMonkey, you can upload the photos here. Again, send it to Stormwater Manager at dep.nj.gov. We actively check that inbox. And then you just hit done. and it goes straight to our inboxes. Feel free to also use the paper forms and scan them and send them to Stormwater Manager with your photos and/or videos. We really want to see this data, and we will pass this directly on to the municipality and be like, hey, there's something going on. And then they have to do a formal investigation to determine and eliminate the illicit discharge. I've found on a lot of EPA audits that people are not doing this, and then EPA gets involved, and it's not a fun process. So these are all of our emails. Feel free to email us, and especially if you have website questions, you can email me. I'm the one that does it. But yeah, we really are happy that you guys are helping us with this and to keep New Jersey's water safe and clean.